my insensitivity to the rights of others, which is an absurdity. I can be very frank with you and tell you that the majority of the people that I'm aware of that have been victims that black people have in this country are very sensitive to issues of discrimination and would not engage in such because of their own personal experience with this kind of circumstance. I did write a letter to Mr. Cisneros that I will like to read into the record. Dear Mr. Secretary, I hope this letter finds you and your colleagues in the best of health and spirits. New Life Self-Development Incorporated is honored to have the opportunity to provide security services to poor people here in Chicago that reside in HUD-sponsored properties. As you may know, we contracted to provide security services and management in a joint venture with William Morehead and Associates. I am pleased, by God's help, to announce that incidents of Part 1 crime and criminal activity is down significantly. I am attaching a copy of the Chicago Police Department statistics for your review. You will note that 6 months after our unarmed efforts, you will notice a reduction in crime of over 50% in our first year. Year to date, at this point, we're at 58%. Mr. Secretary, I appreciate and I am in full agreement with the need to guarantee that there is no discrimination with housing and urban development sponsored projects. But in this country as a whole, as well, there should be no discrimination. Being a member of a historically oppressed community, I am certainly sensitive to the need to function in a free society free of bigotry and discrimination. I can say to you, sir, with assurance, that I am a victim of racial discrimination and religious intolerance and would never seek to impose this on another member of the human family. As you are aware, I am influential and consequential in the runnings of the operations of New Life Self-Development. Therefore, I can represent to you that we are in compliance with the civil rights laws and regulations required by your department, and we will continue to be in compliance with this important criteria. New Life Self-Development is still unclear as to the regulatory compliance you seek in a direct way from our company. To this day, we have not received any requests for additional information from the Chicago Housing Authority, with whom we have formed a contractual relationship through our joint venture partnership with William Morehead and Associates. Through this contract, we have made assurances of compliance with federal, state, and local laws, including the civil rights laws. As you know by now, New Life Self-Development was organized in the state of Illinois as a for-profit entity and is autonomous of the Nation of Islam. We therefore fail to understand the role of the Nation of Islam in your inquiry. Frankly, the laws you seek to ensure compliance with should also protect our right and freedom of religion and association. This aspect of the Constitution, in our judgment, has been ignored by those requiring this inquiry, causing injury and harm and placing our company in jeopardy. We humbly ask that our rights be protected and not sacrificed for any reason whatsoever. Mr. Secretary, please make clear the focus of this inquiry. And that is basically what I'm here to raise with you. The question is, this has never been done before. It seems as though you all have selected us to make history. I don't mind making history, but I have to tell you that I don't appreciate these hearings not one bit, and I am completely disturbed by these occurrences. You are saying to the American public that our companies are anti-Semitic, and you are deliberately, Mr. King, costing us business in this effort, and you know that that's what this is about. And also, this is a publicity stunt on your part. If you are not well known by now, I would suggest that as a U.S. Congressman, it is not necessarily good to become known as someone who disregards the Constitution in this country.
Chairman, would it be appropriate at this time to admonish the witnesses to refrain from personal attacks on members of this panel? I think it would be appropriate. They've done it in their written remarks as well as most recently in the remarks of Leonard Muhammad.
Well, I think that, in all fairness, they are responding to some accusations that Mr. King may have made. Mr. King, if you would like a minute to respond, I think, although I don't want this hearing to degenerate, but I think...
Sure, far be it from me to cause a hearing to degenerate. I think that may has already been done. I just would like to say that I will stand on my record. Mr. Muhammad can defend for himself why it was appropriate for Mr. Farrakhan to make the remarks he did about Hitler, and he can determine the context that they should be read in. And again, I will stand on my own record of being opposed to bias and prejudice in all form, but I would like to put on the record a
Mr.
specific...
King, I would assure you that every year...
Mr. Muhammad, if you let him finish.
I would just think it is, though, incumbent upon me to put a specific defense into the record in defense of Senator Dole, who was referred to as anti-black. I think that was entirely inappropriate. It was wrong. I'm here to defend myself. Senator Dole was not. I just want to put that on the record that I have the highest regard for his character and his absolute commitment to eradicate all sorts of prejudice and bias, and he's demonstrated that throughout his career, and it was entirely wrong, inappropriate, and immoral to castigate Senator Dole in that way.
Thank you. Let me ask you the first question. Y'all are appearing on behalf of NOI Securities and New Life Self-Development Company, is that correct?
That's correct.
Correct. And is it your position that these entities are not anti-Semitic? I mean, you have stated that, I think, very clearly here today. Is that correct?
That's exactly right, and we'd like to say further for the record, we did bring enough supply of applications for employment for any member of the Jewish community who think that we're excluding them from employment. They are welcome to join me at Rockwell Gardens.
Let's focus on my question. Wasn't about applications. Mr. Muhammad, the reason that we have inquired into connections between your organization and the Nation of Islam is because of accusations that the Nation of Islam has made anti-Semitic remarks. And
do we get a chance to say that that the Congress, certain members of Congress, have made anti-black remarks?
Okay.
I mean, where do we go?
Let me ask you this,
Mr. Chairman. Where do we go with that line of reasoning?
Well, what
in the corporate arena?
What I'm saying? Let me ask a question, if I could. Are you saying also that the Nation of Islam does not? You've heard the testimony that Nation of Islam materials is handed out in the housing projects by your employees, and those documents contain anti-Semitic statements and statements. I mean, we've heard those on several occasions today. Are you denying that those documents don't make those statements? Or are you saying we don't have anything to do with that?
Let me say that no one has said that an employee of either one of our companies placed any material at any place at any particular time based on their absolute knowledge. And secondly, let me say that from a religious point of view, whether I believe in the contents of the Final Call newspaper is irrelevant to my operation of New Life Self-Development Company.
Now, you're saying that if your security guards hand out these documents, that's of no concern to you? Or
No, sir. I said that if someone brought me proof of such, that one of our people were busy doing anything except holding their post and walking it in a perfect manner while on duty, that we would discipline such a person.
Okay, well,
that's absolutely unacceptable.
So you are here testifying before us that that's not tolerated by your organizations? You do not allow them to display Nation of Islam banners? You do not allow them to distribute Nation of Islam documents while on the job? Is that what you're telling me?
Let me be very, very clear. Any employee as the same as the members who work for you all here at Congress have a right to do whatever they want to when they're not working, when they're not on duty. What we have jurisdiction over is their behavior while employed for our company.
Right.
And it's absolutely forbidden while employed to engage in anything except the security services that we're contracted to provide.
And you've also heard accusations that that your companies discriminate in hiring, and you're saying unequivocally that's not true. Is that correct?
Well, quite the contrary. I think it's important. First of all, I don't know if this committee or HUD is saying to us that we should ask a prospective employee their religion before we give them an application. If you are asking us to do that, I'd like you to state it right now.
Or are you saying that you're not aware of their religion? Are you saying? Are you saying that you do not? Are you saying that you are hiring whites? That you are hiring members of other religions?
I'm saying that it's my understanding of the civil rights law that we can't ask that as a requirement of employment. But if you would like to correct me right here and right now, I'd accept the correction.
No, I mean, I'm asking you the question.
Well, I don't think that from a legal standpoint, Mr. Chairman, we can ask the religion of a prospective employee. I don't believe we can do that. And I don't believe that HUD intends to ask us to inquire as to the religion of people who seek employment. If they do, we'd like them to state that to us.
Okay.
I mean, what is the answer? Should we inquire as to the religion of prospective employees?
You're saying you don't, and
No, sir. I'm asking this body, since we're here, and we're here for advice as well as to be talked to. What is your view? What is your view on that, Mr. Chairman, or any member of this committee? Should we ask the religion of people who are seeking employment?
now, if you're asking my personal
Yes,
opinion,
sir.
what I do not think you should do, and the reports that we have seen in the news media and in certain documents, even on documents where contracts were terminated, was your guards have proselyted, your guards have distributed religious material, which in many instances had anti-Semitic statements in them.
Yes, sir. Mr.
Well,
Chairman.
you are testifying, you are saying here today that you had no knowledge of that it's against your company rules.
Yes,
And,
sir, Mr. Chairman. Let me tell you what.
That's what my concern is. My concern is not whether or not you ask them. I'm not here to give you advice, what the law is, other than to tell you that violates the law, in my opinion. And that's why the reason we are having this hearing is not any witch hunt. It's because it has been widely reported and there have been complaints made that
We haven't had a chance to review any of the complaints, Mr. Chairman, and we still are here today wanting to see at least one complaint from a person who says that we discriminated against them.
Have you sat out there when you've heard the various people reporting of the assemblyman from New York saying that the ex-men were hanging banners, were handing out materials? Which I mean, is that?
Yes, sir. In all due respect, that's not even what he said. I appreciated the assemblyman's remarks, as a matter of fact, because he said he observed those things there. The conclusion is they must have been placed there by a security guard while on duty. That's incorrect.
That's not my recollection of what he said.
Sir,
Let me
that's
ask you this.
exactly what he said. And he went on to say that crime is down in that area, which is the main purpose for our being there. And as a result of our presence in public housing throughout this country, we have saved this government millions and millions of dollars. The focus should not be on what you've spent on so-called Muslim-affiliated security companies. Where is the focus on the money that we've saved you and the lives that we've saved? Does anybody care about that, Mr. Chairman?
Well, Mr. Muhammad, there was a statement made earlier that Mussolini made the trains run on time. And if, in fact, you have saved, your companies have saved millions and millions of dollars of federal funds, if, in fact, your company and its employees have disseminated anti-racist, anti-Semitic propaganda while on the job, I don't consider that you have saved this country or its people one dime.
Well, let me
And
just say,
if some of the statements that have been made by the leader of the Nation of Islam, if those statements have been, and some of them, and I hope you, in fact, is it Khalid Muhammad? If some of his statements have been distributed in these housing projects, which is what we have received reports of,
Mr. Chairman,
then we consider that wrong. And if you are discriminating in hiring, if you are, and those charges have been made, now, look, a charge is a charge. It's not a conviction. That's why you're here. You're here for the opportunity to answer that. And you're not here for any other reason for that. And with that, I'm gonna. But let me ask you this, and I've gone way over my time. But you said there's not been a specific accusation. In fact, there has. One that I recall was that the X-Men in New York have engaged in some of the activity of which you say you're not doing. Is there any connection between the Nation of Islam and the X-Men? Just answer that a yes or no. Could you do that for me?
Let me just say this. I have to say, and if we go back and review the record, I think you'll find that the Assemblyman did not say that he witnessed any person placing materials any place. He said he saw them and they were present when he arrived. Now, the question I'd like to ask, Mr. Chairman...
No, I'm asking you one question. Is there a connection between the Nation of Islam and the X-Men?
Mr. Chairman, let me just follow this point, though, because what you're trying to say is...
Well, would you answer that question?
Yes, I will. You're saying that because materials were in the development according to the Assemblyman. Now, let's make sure we make that clear, because he's not exactly here as a friendly witness.
Well, let me say this. Everyone that testifies, they're giving, it's according to. I mean, I just heard one of our members say that they wanted absolute proof being offered, and I don't really know what that is.
Well, I think before we start to characterize individuals or companies and saying that they are, in fact, one thing or the other, it should be based on absolute proof. That's my understanding of your law.
You and I agree on one thing, and that's that discrimination is wrong. Is that correct?
We agree that we're both from the South, and that discrimination is wrong, and that it's had a hell of a lot more effect on me than it has on you.
Well, let me say this. As a congressman, it is an obligation that I have to the American taxpayers that we not have discrimination in federal programs, and that those that deal with our government and are paid taxpayers' money do not discriminate.
Yes, sir.
And I don't think it's appropriate for you or anyone else to castigate this committee, even for members of this committee to do so, for asking that type question.
But the point is, the whole basis...
And my question, again, is, I have heard and I've read the accusation that that X-Men did these things, and I'm simply asking you one
Mr. Chairman, I don't believe
simple
that
question, and
they say they didn't do it.
Is the X-Men, is that connected with the Nation of Islam?
No, sir. I think you've heard our counsel say that this is a corporation, lawfully incorporated.
What is its connection with the Nation of Islam? Do you object to answering that question?
No, sir. I'll answer regarding my connection.
No, please answer as to their connection, of any knowledge that you have. And that's the last question I'll ask you.
As a corporate entity...
We've been on this question for 10 minutes.
As a corporate entity, I'm not aware.
I have asked you probably 8 or 9 times, and I want to ask you two panel members.
The answer is, Mr. Chairman, as a corporate entity, I'm not aware of any connection of X-Men with the Nation of Islam. I am aware that members and people who organized it may be of the Muslim faith. I do not believe that is a violation of law. And
No.
if it is, I would like to be so informed.
No, but you're saying they may be, or they could be, or do you know that they are?
Mr. Chairman, again, I think that if you require me to know the religion,
I'm not. I'm just asking you if you do know. No requirement. Do you know?
I happen to know that they are Muslims, yes, sir.
You what?
I happen to know that they are Muslim, and they are followers of Minister Louis Farrakhan, as I am myself.
Yeah,
And I think
understand.
they should be commended for the good work that the Assemblyman was truthful enough to say that they
And
had
I
done the
think
job
he
that they came
commended
there to
them for
do.
that work.
I appreciate that.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. This coming weekend, I got to sit down with my 6-year-old nephew, Lamel, and talk about some things. I assume that after he sees this, he's going to want to know, how did I tell him that his X-Men were the subject of a committee hearing? Because I must admit, up until today, I thought that the X-Men were Lamel's toys. But it's a learning experience for all of us, and maybe a bit of levity is not out of order at a time like this. Mr. Abdul Muhammad, let me ask a couple of questions. Maybe you can give us some direction and some answers here on the committee. Can you tell the subcommittee, how does the NOIS recruit for applicants for security guard positions?
Yes, Congressman, as any company that's in the business of needing employees to conduct its business, it advertises through yellow pages, through word of mouth, through radio advertisement, through television media advertising for employees. And I might add, that in most of the advertisements, it states very clearly that we're equal opportunity employer.
And can you tell the committee how many white applicants you've received as a result of those notices through the medium that you've described?
I'm not very aware of what the personnel records might reflect, but to the best of my knowledge, there are not many applicants that I'm aware of that are white that come in to even register or apply.
Now, in your ads for available positions, you stated that as a part of that, there is the clause that you're an equal opportunity employer.
Yes.
Does that also exist on your letterhead?
No.
Would the NOI find it objectionable to consider including that also as a part of the base of your letterhead, as a lot of organizations and companies do?
I can take that up with my clients.
Okay. Can you tell the committee, based on at least part of the testimony of the Secretary of HUD, that he said you were working with the investigation, but that compliance hasn't been total because, as he said, there was a short notice, and the one outstanding matter seems to be the matter of employment data. Is the NOIS moving to complete that data and make it ready for the Secretary?
Well, actually, for my client's issues with HUD at this time, the real issue, really, Congressman, had to do with the issue of clarity. Many of the questions that we were asked, the forms of the questions, we had objections to them because we did not see what the legal basis was of the questions. Again, as we're sitting here talking about so many different things, as counsel, I'm just concerned about the focus of why we're here. And if the focus are the statutes that we're citing, then I was concerned when we got the correspondence that many of the questions did not appear to be even relevant to the points in question. And so we were attempting to meet with her to talk with them about seeking clarity and, if you will, from a legal standpoint, registering our objection and try to get a sustaining of our objection by getting some